Ladies and gentlemen, what is happening down in Australia is not unique. You know, honestly, I would not be remotely surprised if in Australia, what's happening down there, especially in Victoria Province, in Melbourne, is happening just about anywhere else you can think of in the world. I would not be remotely surprised. Because if it's happening one place, it's a guarantee it's happening other places. Now, I don't know where else in the world this might be being shown by the average citizens of, in this case, Victoria Province in Australia, Byron Bay, Melbourne, all of that, or as I would say, Melbourne. But let me just say that I guarantee you it's not unique to them. It's definitely happening elsewhere, and it just might not be being talked about or reported elsewhere in the world, including here in the US, unfortunately. And clearly it's not, because pretty much the exclusive intention is happening in Melbourne, in Victoria Province, and in thus Australia. Australia already has some really weird, abnormal, and illogical laws down there anyway, and you could take your pick what the hell they surround, what the heck they're about, and you'd find plenty of bizarre, strange ones that just don't make much sense. I know that in South Australia they have an example of a really illogical law that absolutely makes zero sense that's surrounding wildlife, and that is rescuing them. So if you find any kind of wildlife that needs rehabilitation or needs to be rescued by the state law of South Australia, it's instantaneously, the moment you come in contact with it, considered humanized, no longer wild. And that would mean that it's now going to be illegal for you to release it back into the wild. It's actually a crime, and therefore you have to now keep it as if it's, I guess, kind of like a pet, which makes absolutely zero sense, because all around the world there's countless examples of, you know, refuges and sanctuaries, rehabilitation centers. They literally rescue young animals and even adults, and they literally heal them up and rehabilitate them and even help them learn their skills, kind of give them their little nudges that they need and guidance while they do it on their own. And they're surrounded by others of their species to go out there and learn how they're supposed to live, and then they get released back into the wild, and it's super successful. It works all the time. They're not too humanized. But for some reason, down in South Australia, they like illogic. They don't like logic, they like illogic. And so that's one of the illogical things they have. And I'm sure there's countless other ones in South Australia, let alone any other state, territory, whatever you want to call it, down in Australia. I give that example because, you know, anything surrounding what's going on down there in this case, Victoria, and in Australia in general, or let alone Melbourne, again, yes, there's some uniqueness to them and how illogical and strange some of their laws are, but what's really happening down there has nothing to do with that anymore. Again, those are more just things, almost like a test thing, of like, see how willingly and how easily and how many and consistently the population of a certain place will actually follow through with what you're told to believe and what you're told to do and how you're told to live, and dictated to how you're supposed to live your life, what's considered bad, what's considered good, acceptable, non-acceptable, all of that. Really, it's all superficial. And this is true around the world. So, what is happening, for those of you that don't know, down in the province of Victoria, or I should say the state of Victoria, in Australia, and thus in Melbourne and Byron Bay, but especially Melbourne, is chaotic, to say the least. It is blatantly, could not be more blatantly, all organized, planned, arranged. It's a fucking blueprint that they're just installing step by step, clearly, down there. To truly, and as much as a lot of people are going to try to immediately throw it out as, oh, it's just a right-wing conspiracy, it's absolutely true. They are already pretty much have a full-on police state in Victoria, and especially in Melbourne. And they're just trying to ensure that they have a stranglehold so that they can stay an aggressive dictatorial police state there. It's very interesting to be able to find out so much information and even see some perspectives in things from people who literally are residents, lifelong residents, in fact, of Victoria and Melbourne in Australia, through this whole thing, and find out not just their perspectives and the things that they've experienced, because they literally will live stream or they'll film it for everybody, but to actually literally learn all this different information that you never would have heard of or known otherwise. I actually recently learned from somebody who lives in the Melbourne area of Victoria province, state in Australia, that Melbourne is actually one of the cities in the world, in this case it's the main city in Australia, to test their pilot program. I say they're being, of course, the frickin' Rockefellers are always behind everything that's police state dictatorship, you know, takeover, Great Reset, New World Order, whatever the hell you want to call it, and brand it as. They really are. That's exactly what it is. They're all just different brands for the same thing, different terms for the exact same thing, to test this police state thing, which is their first major success step, if they succeed with it, to going into a full-on totalitarian dictatorship, to seize complete control and thus be able to do whatever the fuck they want and hopefully install, again, a New World Order. And by the way, New World Order is not an old term. It's actually the main man who took it on his own is literally David Rockefeller. He's literally the one who made it into a global phenomenon, if you will. Something that like every household in the world now knows of. The NWO, New World Order. That's where it comes from. It comes from the frickin' Rockefellers, because David Rockefeller's big wet dream was a New World Order. Again, one of the reasons, and I've mentioned this so many times, this is one of the reasons why he literally had conscripted, and thus had it created, and erected the Georgia Guidestones. The Georgia Guidestones are literally for his, it's literally the blueprint for a New World Order. The New World Order that he wanted to have installed for the whole world, of course. Which, to be fair, probably one of the main reasons why a lot of people actually are skeptical or distrust globalism, because he was a big proponent of globalism. And what better way to globalize, and other than, quote unquote, they're going to always try to brand it this way, unite the world together as one. But in reality, it's just for them. It's not for any of us. For complete control and power. Whether you believe that's true or not, you can't refute the fact that he did literally was the one who had made the Georgia Guidestones. He was obsessed with eugenics, all this other stupid shit. Their foundation, they have something called, I believe, a Strong Cities and Communities program. Strong and Safe Cities or Communities program or something like that. Or initiative. What that is exactly what you're seeing in Melbourne. It's a police state, a totalitarian police state is what it is. It's all about advertising, all about branding, all about striking fear into the residents and every way they can to gain as much complete stranglehold of control as they can with absolute power. Absolute power in this case be starting at least with the police, which are practically used like mercenaries. They dress them up all in, you know, their heavy riot gear and armaments. They have both rubber bullet laden automatic weapons. They have automatic pellet guns. They have their fully automatic actual weapons. They have their tear gas. They have all this other stupid shit for show of force. And on top of that, of course, they have the military march and stances. They all look very angry. They puff out their chests, so they look a lot much more strong and intimidating, which only makes somebody look like even a bigger fucking clown and buffoon, actually. And I have personal experience with that. It's called my dad. But anyway, so you go figure, another authoritarian-minded person. Who would have thought? It ties together, as always. They always have some fucking cliche. It's like it's built into their fucking code and their brain. But anyway, yeah, they do all of that. They do all their big show-offness. You know, they have their fucking massive-ass batons, oversized batons. They have their, you know, flashbang, or their stun grenades, which people know as flashbangs, which I always call stun grenades because that's actually what they're named, but different story. Anyway, they have all of that. And of course, they always have their stupid, heavily, fully armored vans and trucks. So they have their fucking Bearcats or Gherkins, depending on which company your police force got their fucking, you know, fleets from. You have those armored vans. And I have a video I want to show you. It's a live stream from a Melbourne resident. I'm assuming he's lifelong there, at least lived most of his life there. He's clearly definitely Australian. That I was able to watch on Instagram because fortunately there were other people that captured it and thus shared it there on their side so that the police couldn't just immediately delete it because of the fact that they chose at the end, predictably, to go target him and dogpile on him. Here it is.
Look, I thought I'd do a last live for the night because my legs are killing me and probably everybody's tired, but where does these cops come from? Where? I never knew Victoria had this many cops in my life. Look, 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 look. Look, look, look. Now they're flexing their muscle. And with pallet guns, there's a Mr. Pallet. Wow, man, look at this. Mr. Pallet. Mr. Pallet and Mrs. Pallet. Mr. and Mrs. Pallet guns. Slugs. Look how tough they are. And look at this. They've got a comfy van. Look, they got a comfy van. Look at this. Huh? This is an experiment for them. This is an experiment for later, so they can cook us even more. Look. Oh my God! Look at them. Look at them. Look. What noise are they making? What? You gotta wait for you gotta wait for the, what do you call it? You gotta wait for the buzzer. Look, look, look. Look. Look, look, look. But no one's over there. Like, what do they call? What do they call? Trouble is this? What trouble is this? Look, look, look. Oh my God. Look, look, look. Fuck me drunk, mate. Look, look, look. Cowboys and Indians. Cowboys and Indians. Look, look, look. Look. This is not Australia. This is not Australia. Look, look, where they're going. There's nobody there. What are they trying to do? Is this for the channel 7, 9, and 10?
Oh shit.
Look, look, look. Look, tough. Look how tough they are. Look, look. They jumped on some poor head. Look, 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 look. Poor guy. Just for the media. Just for the media. Look, look, look. Just to show the toughness. Look. Look, mate. Should be ashamed of yourselves. Look. Should be ashamed. Should be ashamed of yourself. Look, 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 look. Now they're running here. Where are you going, mate? Why are they running to me? What are you going to do, arrest me? Fucking dogs, look at them. I ain't scared of shit, mate. Look, look, they still got him on the ground. Leave him alone, mate. Look, look, look. Look. What the fuck is this shit, mate? This is training. Guys, whoever's watching this live feed, you got to understand, we're in some big fucking trouble, mate. Big trouble. Big fucking trouble. Fuck that shit, mate. Fuck that shit, mate. What are you doing?
So, I think it's inherently obvious that this guy, at least in here, did absolutely nothing wrong. He was just minding his own business. He was speaking his mind, honestly, obviously, about how he felt about it, what he thought about it, he believes is really going on with it. Alright? That's all he was doing. And if you wanted to be extremely, extensively picky, you could be like, well, look, he raised his voice at them and said, well, you know, look, Mr. and Mrs. Pellet. he was mocking them, and that's hurtful, and therefore he deserved what he got. If you want to be extremely picky, then okay, yeah, he literally laughed at them because of how fucking pathetic it is. It's always pathetic when authoritarian regimes and those going and doing the authoritarianism for those in power, in this case, these mercenaries you call cops, it's always humorous because of watching them in understanding that they really do believe that they look so fearsome and they seem so tough. And that, you know, he's like, they're so to be feared because, I mean, look, they puff out their chests, you know, they don't just look there and, you know, go like, oh, I'm a bodybuilder. No, they literally go and they puff out their fucking chests and they go and they fake go towards you, or they fake run at you, or they go and they make like a sudden turn towards you and they give you a death glare, you know, and then the dead in the eye. They are so intimidating. Look at them pile on somebody else. Oh, so tough, you know. And it's laughable because you know it's just for fucking show. It literally is just a show of force is all it is. It's just to make themselves look tough. But that's why it's laughable. Because they don't look tough. Because it only proves one thing. They're fucking cowards. And all they fucking know how to do is act tough for an audience. And when it doesn't work, they get mad. They panic, and what do? They go and they beat the living shit out of you because you are intimidated. But they're trying to act like they're big, bad, evil people that you need to fear because they're so tough and so strong, and they're, you know, they command such authority and respect. But they only command the opposite because they are the opposite of that. And it really comes from a deep insecurity in those people to willingly say, yeah, I'll do this for you. Because it's, again, they just want the feeling of control and power. When people don't give them that because they have authoritarian leanings, then they get really upset and they get really mad because of the fact that they aren't getting what they wanted, and therefore they aren't getting the responses and reactions that they want. And of course, at that point, they're going to attack you because to them, you're a danger now to them. And they also hate the feeling of inferiority that they have because they're natural cowards, which is why they hide behind this tough exterior look, you know, and act that they too know is just a fucking front. And so when they feel called out, which makes them feel like they're being attacked, which makes them feel like they gotta go and they gotta attack you now and take you out because they don't like the feeling that you make them have by the fact that they know that you know the truth about them. So they gotta go take you out because they only want the people that they know are going to give them whatever, even if it's false, this sense of, yes, I command respect and authority and control over you. That's really what it is. These guys are just fucking mercenaries, and it's fucking stupid. And again, they prove their cowardice by being willing to put themselves in this position and do this for a job. Be a fucking showman for authoritarian assholes up at the top who actually control everything. And that's all this is. Like, there's very, very few people out. And you look at these people, they're all just like this guy, minding their own business. The only real difference is this guy is recording them. That's the only difference. But through this, you'll notice there's very specific points. As my mom actually termed it, choreographed. You can tell it's very clearly choreographed. This is practiced. This is methodical. They have a very set time for each little thing, including their poses, their body language, their yelling, what they yell. Everything is on a timer. It has a specific point when they're going to do it. You notice that where the media was staged, there was like one single media person. He says, oh, look, it's for the media. And then you notice there's one fucking media member there with their stupid telescopic lens there to take a picture of it. That media member was coming from behind them with them down the street. They weren't taking a picture of anything. They weren't recording anything. They were just there to take pictures of when something would give people reaction. They'd jump on it. They'd suddenly have emotional reactions to it because that sells. That gets clicks. So that's the only thing that they're there taking pictures of. But at the same time, that didn't have, to me, it didn't look like there was any branding on it. It was just a simple media vest that said media on it. But otherwise, it was the average person. It was only one that you could see this entire time, was that one single media member who had their basic camera set, well, basic for, you know, professional photography. That's it. There wasn't even a team anywhere nearby, which means it's not being broadcast, it's not being recorded, it's just for photographs. Why is there only one person? Oh, wait a minute. And why are they always placed in the exact points when everything starts to go down? As in, gets exciting, is going to provoke emotions. Unless it's, of course, again, choreographed. And that person is told where to be when and what to expect. The fact of the matter is that this person this entire time did nothing wrong. And obviously you too are a fucking coward. And you have a big fucking problem with your own self-worth and value and image if you actually get picky enough to say, well, he was insulting them because he wasn't giving them respect, because he was laughing at them. And he even raised his voice at them, mocking them by saying, oh, look, Mr. and Mrs. Pelican, slugs, look at how intimidating they are. Oh, they're so tough. They're so scary. And that's just wrong. Well, then that proves that you're just like those cops. You're a fucking coward. You have no fucking spine. And you have some major self-worth and value problems and image problems. That's the only thing that proves. Is it proves something about yourself. That you are also a very sad, pathetic state with yourself. And yes, that you are also very wrong for viewing it that way. Because you're only viewing it via your own emotional reaction because of your own lack thereof, and value problems. That's the truth of what that means, and that is. That's very blatant. You don't have to be a psychologist to know that. In fact, it helps, though, to be able to grow up your entire life around figures in your family like that. And weirdly, fortunately, in a roundabout way, it's actually helped me be able to have like a sixth sense, to be able to identify those things. And then understand that's what's the inner workings of that idiot on that side, on that front that has these problems. It's all a front, a facade to play make-believe as if, oh, I'm confident, oh, I'm so tough, oh, I'm so smart, when they know they're not. Or at least they don't believe they are, because they know they have that fucking value and worth problem, that confidence problem, whatever it is. With that said, though, again, it's very specifically timed. If you watch them very, you watch it really closely, you can literally tell there's a specific time for when they stop. There's a specific time when then they start. There's a specific time for when they talk. There's a specific time when they yell commands. Though they're technically, like he said, kind of yelling at an empty street. There's nobody there. There's a specific time when the armored vehicle will roll up into a specific position that it will end up in. There's a specific point in time when they'll suddenly turn on the lights on that vehicle. Was a specific time when they pop the fucking hood on it. That little hatch is for when they start shooting somebody. That's what the hatch on those vans are for. It's for shooting out of. That's literally all it's for. If you're in a military situation out in the middle of nowhere, then it's also used for reconnaissance. But otherwise, in these situations, it's always used for attack. That's what it's used for. And they had a very specific time when they popped that hood on it. And the only time they popped that is when the media member was now in prime position to get the pictures with the hatch popped open. Everything was truly choreographed in this. You could tell. It, like he said, it also proved, like, I would say everything about this also proves what he said is true, which is that it's practice. They're practicing their choreographed little show of force to help intimidate and also get the media to project them as this big, tough power holder that you need to fear, because if you don't, you're gonna get the beatdown of your lifetime for it because you're a horrible person who's contesting your superior authorities, because this is apparently a military state now. A junta. this is what that is. They're practicing for it. Now, the information I mentioned earlier, there's this thought leader, I guess you could say, and a spiritual well-being person from Victoria Province in Australia named Alicia Sophia, who has been sharing and documenting as much of this stuff as she can on her Instagram, which is where I've therefore actually had like a wonderful, abundant resource of. She doesn't just share her perspectives and her knowledge, because she gets shared with as well knowledge that other people have, including with resources and links sometimes to these things. But yeah, that's actually how I found out about the whole Rockefeller thing. That whole stupid, strong and safe communities initiative, whatever it's officially called. Melbourne is their Australian city that they have themselves set up in. That heads the organization, in fact, has lived in Melbourne for the last 5 years to oversee the implementation of it. This also goes to prove something else. Once again, more proof that the whole COVID thing is just for complete control. It's just to gain as much more dictational control and revocation of your freedoms to them, the power holders, so they can gain as much control as they can, so they can further advance their agenda, in this case, again, towards a new world order. Whether you want to brand that as that, or the Great Reset, or whatever the hell else you want to brand it as, it's proof in the pudding. It's, at the very least, it's for complete control. That's what it's for. It's for control, consolidation of power. That's all the COVID thing really is for. This is a really good point, by the way, that she made, of course. It's just a simple, basic, honest question, but it makes perfect sense. That is, does it really look like a Western developed country? Or does it look like an undeveloped country with a regime to suppress people? Well, I think we can all answer that question honestly. Obviously the latter. But then again, it's like calling something a civil war. It has no logic, because it's the opposite of civil if you're warring, or fighting. This is obviously, as you can tell, you know how it works, somebody else that gave Alicia the links and the information to it. Now, admittedly, NutraTruth doesn't really sound... It sounds like something some guy made off of one of those, like a web starts page. It's .webstarts.com. But it's circa 2002, 2003, 2005. It doesn't sound modern. It doesn't sound... I don't want to say it sounds dishonest or not honest, but it doesn't sound quite right. I'd never heard of it. I don't know if it's trustworthy or not. Who the hell knows? Likelihood is almost anybody's going to say no, because the fact that mainstream probably shits on anything that isn't, well, something that they own or have some sort of investments money-wise into, some sort of control over. So of course they're going to be like, no. But then you look at that link, but then it links to this, which then links to something else, which is Australian National Review. That sounds like a tabloid. I don't know if it is. I wouldn't necessarily trust tabloids either, because tabloids are sensationalists. That's what they've always been and always have been all about, because again, gets a lot of clicks, gets a lot of sales. Thus, that's what makes you a tabloid. Though technically, I guess that pretty much makes all mainstream media tabloids today. But this is basically the summary here of the idea behind this. So it's the chief of the Rockefeller Foundation, their organization. Strong, Resilient Cities, that's it, Resilient Cities program. And again, if you hear Rockefeller, it's inevitable that you need to mention NWO, New World Order, because, again, this is David Rockefeller's wet dream. Yeah, he's been dead for quite a while, but he still gets erections and gets off on anything about eugenics or anything about installing police states and New World Order, despite the fact he's been well decrepit in his grave for a long time. This was his, his precious baby. This was his brainchild, was this whole New World Order thing. This is a whole part of the strategic business plan, if you will, behind it and how to implement it. This one is, of course, interesting because, again, it shows that people, even there, let alone her, have been questioning what the hell is with that earthquake? Because again, the timing pissed a lot of people off down there because they're like, okay, this fits the fucking glove way too fucking perfectly for something that is completely staged. As in, yes, it's a real earthquake, but no, it's not a natural earthquake. It's definitely human induced. Who did it? So, GAIA, I assume, being dash earthquake is in other words, it's a normal earthquake. I have no idea what the hell HARP is. I remembered hearing about that years ago and then never heard about it again. I don't remember what it is. But I guarantee you, has something to do with some sort of probably private corporation collaborative with military, so government. But yeah, bombs going off an underground military base. If you actually see where exactly that was located, it could not be in the... Literally, it's impossible for it to be in a better position. In a better place for the military and the government down there, the people in power, to be able to do something like that. However the heck they would induce it in an underground military base / tunnel system. Because geographically, it's placed perfectly to fuck with that whole Melbourne, Victoria province area, but also be able to fuck up and fuck with people in their capital, Canberra, and even be felt into New South Wales and Queensland, where Sydney and all of them are. And it was felt into there, and some people's windows even broke in New South Wales due to it. I need to remember what the hell HARP is. We could probably even look it up and probably be okay with it. So yeah. Right, yeah, so this actually does show you the literal location. Like, you see that? I mean, if you know the topography of this region of Australia and where the closest cities are, of course, which is all the coastlands, towns, a little bit up into here. Canberra is about up in here somewhere. You have Sydney up here. Like, the bulk load of the Australia's population is there. The bulk load of travel throughout Australia goes through this corner. It's like in the perfect place. If you think about it, it's the perfect, I mean, most impeccable choke point and point of complete constraint and control. In an instant, if they wanted to, they could shut everything down in that corner, just completely make everything stop, break everything to pieces, all the connections that people have to be able to move. They can just decimate it in a heartbeat. And the aquatics are able to be completely controlled down in this part of South Australia, right at that corner and on through the strait between there and Tasmania. There's nobody else around there other than Kiwi land, but it's still way a lot further than people realize to the east. There's nobody else around there. Nobody's going to be able to help you if your government decides to say, yeah, fuck everything, we're taking over. And just like, fuck you all. And shut everything down. Even navally, they have complete supremacy down in that area. You can't go anywhere without them knowing if you're going somewhere. Because of the topography, the way that all the cities are laid out, the way that the military routes, as in your freeways or highways, whatever you call them, are laid out. Like, they have the most impeccable ability to strangle everybody's livelihoods and keep them where they want them in this isolated area. They can completely isolate it and break it from everywhere else and completely control it with the easiest way. Like, they have it easier than probably almost anywhere else in the world does. Right there. Like, and then also you think about the topography. There couldn't be a more impeccable place, therefore, because of that, along with, again, just the topography of it, to have underground military bases and tunnel systems and bunkers and all that other shit, you know, laboratories and experiment stations and all this other shit underground. It couldn't be a more perfect place. Again, I feel like it's kind of self-explanatory. Everything's just way too on the nose with what's going on down in Victoria and in Melbourne in Australia.
So something strange just happened. I went to get petrol, and the petrol station is closed. Then I went to the second petrol station, and that petrol station is closed. And there was a gentleman there, and I said, what's going on? Why are the petrol stations closed? And he said, yeah, the other two are also closed. So every petrol station in Byron is closed because of a power shortage, yet all the lights are on at the petrol stations. This is interesting. I am a part of a group that was warning this and saying that we should consider stockpiling fuel, because there's a chance that this is a part of the game plan. Good way to immobilize people. Stay tuned.
Which is absolutely true. Absolutely true. It doesn't take almost any brain power, if any at all, to be able to understand and figure that out. Like, just put the two and two together and be like, okay, yeah. That is one of the best ways to be able to immobilize a population, the bulk load of it. Other than, those of us who have to rely on our feet at the public transit system, of course. But again, I guarantee you, this is not just Australia. It's not just Australia. It's not just Australia. This is happening in other places in the world. Maybe not successfully for them to this level and this extent. But, yeah. Right, this was what I wanted to show, though. When I read this message that she got with it, I was a little bit surprised by, like, I guess vibrationally and energetically how I felt inside. I guess it had to have been impactful, very impactful, deeply in like a resonance of like, this is the first part I read. I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. This is the one right here. Our collective energy triggering the ground to shake from the center of pain. And it's like, it sounds to almost anybody who doesn't believe in any of that energetic stuff or the spiritual universe stuff. It sounds completely out of your fucking mind. Impossible, even. But I do believe in that stuff. In fact, I know that everything is energy, and thus everything's a vibration. It's a signature of energy. It's a pulse. Everybody has their own unique signature pulse when they are operating at their highest and best and happiest state, their most confident and self-worth pure state, however you want to describe that, which has impacts, whether people realize it or not, on anybody anywhere within your vicinity, anywhere near you. You have an immediate energetic impact on people. It's been proven many times. It's very fucking obvious and blatant. People can literally, without even realizing it, just by being in the same building, but across the way, actually have an impact and change somebody's mood because their energy is somewhere completely different than that other person's at that time. Can make people happy, can make people angry, can make people sad, can make people upset, can make people tired, energized. It's actually incredible how all that works. So this, therefore, was the most impactful one. I'm like, yeah, I could understand that. So now when it comes down to it, what this all comes down to is that people down there are really they're just done. They're fucking done. Because not only has stupid shit been happening in Australia apparently for years now, but this whole thing started with COVID. It started with the whole mask mandates. It started with the lockdowns especially. They were in lockdown for literally 290 days straight plus down in Victoria province and in South Australia. It pissed so many fucking people off because they had, I think at peak, they had like just over 1,000 cases total in their state. And that was very early on into the lockdown. And then even after they lifted lockdowns, the handful of times they did, because they keep going back and forth, they literally now they only go into lockdowns when literally a single person is found to be, infected with COVID. And suddenly, lockdown completely again. Stop your lives. Somebody got a disease. And it's like, if it couldn't be more obvious for power control, that's all it's for, and it couldn't be, then you can't be told anything because you can't be made to see reality. At least so many people down there do, because they're like, this is fucking bullshit. Because that was a start, and it's still continuing on that now. they had their whole government occupation and protest to force their, not just national government out, but their state and their city governments out because they're fucking done with them. And then go and state their lockdowns, complete lockdowns again within just a few hours, basically the night before they were supposed to go out and do that. Well, of course, people out did it anyway, but of course now it's considered illegal because their mandate, which is supposed to be finable. And everybody down there especially knew exactly why they did that when they did it. It's because that they did, again, it's a last-second desperation grab to cling to their control and power just in case they actually successfully got ousted. They didn't want that, so they're going to try to make people fear that they could become a criminal and have a criminal record for not staying at home by going to outside the parliament buildings and making sure that they try to force them out and make their point heard and known. This consolidation with all the police, the excessive use of force and the show of force from their police down there and all of that together, and how it just keeps getting more and more brutal and more police show up and more show of force keeps happening down in Melbourne and all of that, along with strengthening lockdowns and trying to make it, basically like, hey, we're going to alienate and prevent you from existing as a human being and living your life or having a house unless, you do as we dictate to you and get your vaccines no matter what and wear your masks and stay inside anyway because you still don't have a job because we won't let you go outside to get one. It's like, you do this for over a year, people are going to say, you know what, enough of you, fuck you. We're going to fucking make you bleed. And that's exactly what people are getting to the point of down there. And of course, when people that are obsessed over consolidation of power and control over the people is in power, this is exactly what they do. They try aggressively to suppress it. Because they know the fear is not going to work. They'll still try it in person, but clearly it doesn't work most of the time. So what do? They will literally beat the living shit out of you. They will go excessive in force against you, and they will do everything they can to make to even invent things and make things out of nothing that you never did to hold it against you. And of course, it has to be your word versus all these other police people, these mercenaries. And then, of course, guess what? You're screwed no matter what. And then they feel all good about themselves because, oh, look at us, we're winning. And you feel terrible now, don't you? That makes us feel great because we're doing what we want to. Beating the crap out of you when you don't comply. And it's like, yeah, definitely not all about control and that's it. Definitely all about consolidated power and that's it. And they wonder why people actually are starting to get pissed and stand against them and even break their shit and literally beat them too, out of just being so fucking done and fed up with it. Because it's like they keep going harder and harder and beating more and more people up and getting more and more brutal and controlling and power projecting. So it's like eventually people are going to snap and get pushed far enough that they're going to want to do the same back to them. And that's, I think, what a lot of people are seeing down there. Because obviously there's some coverage that has videos of people that get a little too rowdy and a little too upset and get a little too in their emotions because they literally go and they start beating the shit out of them, breaking the crap out of the cop cars. And it's like, it never does any good because all it does is it just exacerbates the situation and it makes everybody else that much more reactive, that much more emotional, much less rational, and that much more brutality. Like, it's just inevitable. People follow, and that's again, that actually goes back in the whole energy thing of everybody affects each other. Because if there's enough people that suddenly are just having excessive amounts of emotional emotion that they're outputting, that they're gonna go start chasing after and beating the crap out of cops and beating the crap out of their vehicles, everything, because of the fact that they're just done, and they don't like the fact that the more that they stand even peacefully against them, the more that they're getting villainized and they're getting beaten up by the cops and imprisoned and jailed. They're going to show that they're going to fight back. Like, oh, you really want to do that? Then, you push us past our point of, well, to just keep standing peacefully. We're going to fucking show you that we don't give a shit, about you anymore. because you don't deserve to be given a shit about. And that's, again, eventually that's going to bleed over into a lot more of that crowd. Next thing you know, you'll see the people that weren't originally that way, that you could literally see them slowly starting to get to a point where their facial expressions, everything else, and then suddenly they literally will physically start leaning forward, and then they start running with the rest of the crowd. It's because of the fact originally they weren't feeling that way and they weren't doing that, but then it's a human being thing built into seemingly the DNA and genetics of being the species of animal. You're going to follow. You're going to do what the rest are doing. You're going to follow the crowd because you don't want to feel awkwardly like outcasted or anything, or like you're not supportive of what you're there to support. So you start following because you start to, try to rationalize why you should support what they're doing now. At the same time, it's the whole energy emotion thing, which is what emotion stands for. So those people's emotions that got them to go do that are now starting to spread throughout the rest of the crowd, and that's getting more and more people to start to give in and do it too. Because emotions are so fucking powerful that they literally can completely control somebody in every way. And then they don't think anymore. They're basically not even themselves anymore. They're just their emotion, and they just start going with everything that their emotions impulsively get them to do. Because it's truly an impulse. A reaction is always an impulse on how you feel with the emotion. So you just do it, which is why they call it irrational. That's why you see that going on down there, though, is because people are so fed up, and it's getting worse and worse no matter how peaceful and fine they've been, where they can just stand there and they'll get attacked for no reason. They can be shopping and have nothing to do with it, and they'll just get dogpiled on by the cops. So it's like eventually people are just going to get their point, and they're going to be like, yeah, it's the defensive reaction too, where it's like, I got to defend myself and show that I'm going to fight you back. If you're going to beat me up, I'm going to beat the shit out of you first. It's basically how jingoism came to be a thing politically around the world throughout history. It's very much a human trait to be very emotional. That's also where the term eye for an eye came from. It's basically it's jingoism is the preemptive edition of that, where basically we got to attack them before they attack us. We got to hurt them before they hurt us. We got to kill them before they kill us. We got to, show them who's boss before they show us who's boss. Or, we got to take advantage of them before they take advantage of us. That's what jingoism is. It's basically just the preemptive edition of eye for an eye, which is why I also personally very strongly believe in the eye for an eye and the world goes blind perspective, because it really does. People just immediately are blinded by their emotions. They don't know anything but their emotions, and as a result, they don't think. They don't have rationality anymore. They just follow whatever impulse their body gives them with the feelings they have from their energy emotions. They get consumed, and they literally, that's kind of like a form of that is literally also blind rage. They call it blind rage because you're blind to literally everything except your enragement, your pure, vicious anger. That's all you see, that's all you feel, that's all you know, that's all you're literally living as, is your pure, intensive anger and rage. They call that blind anger because you're blind to literally everything else in existence besides that emotion. You are that emotion. You're truly 100% consumed by just it. You don't exist anymore. This is what I like to tell people. When you get into that state, you literally cease existence. You don't exist as your own person. You don't exist in identity. There's nothing that exists except that emotion. That is who you are, is that emotion. That's all that's left of you, is that emotion. You cease existence when you go into a blind rage. It's exclusively that emotion. And that's exactly what these kind of scenarios often create, especially in crowds. People will end up being completely consumed by their emotions when they've just been pushed so far past their breaking point and so far past what they're able to handle. They will retaliate with whatever the heck they feel. In this case, most people feel an intense anger, and they will break to the extent that they will become blind rage. They will, or at least they will be almost entirely consumed by it. Not quite blind rage, because they're not 100% consumed, but they're like, say, 80, 70, 80, 90% consumed by it. there's still going to be the type of people that are going to be almost exclusively in their emotions, and they're still going to be impulsively going and doing something, especially in a crowd. It's a natural state of how human brains work. In this case, the biochemical sector of it, which is your emotions, your moods. This is how this happens. This is why you're seeing that occasionally down there. Now, for the most part, from everything I've seen, it's been truly still very peaceful, and the only emotional and vicious reactionary type of things that have happened down there are literally by the police. The show of power mercenary assholes. That's it. I have not seen it from almost any of these people that are there to protest or there to even shit talk them and argue with them. They aren't doing anything physical. They aren't giving them threats, but they're basically gonna, even some of the people that are yelling at them and insulting the hell out of them, it's still not threats. It's still not violence. They're still fine, but most of them aren't even that. They might say something here and there. They might even yell something at them like, fuck you. But they're still otherwise going to be their solidarity, silent, standing or sitting or whatever they're doing. That's what most of them are doing. Or they're just walking and marching together. But they're peaceful. It's almost exclusively the cops I've seen that are doing the beatings, the brutality, and the reactions, not the people. So it's very, very uncommon from what I have been able to see from the actual people on the ground that live there, that are going through it, that are showing all this and capturing it. Literally, I've only seen it once from them, that there's a group of people that will go and beat the shit out of the police cars. But again, the point is, though it doesn't do anybody any good and doesn't get anybody anywhere, at the very least, the guarantee is what it does do is it at least, again, proves a point of where these people are at. You know, and that's a hugely important thing. And it shows them that they're not willing to back down to them. They can break, but they're not breaking to them or to their intense attempt at complete dictation to them. They're breaking down to how viciously against it they are and how much they're just done with them being that way. But if this keeps continuing the way it's going, I could see it getting a lot worse down there, because there's going to be a lot much more people that are going to join into it. There's going to be a lot much more emotion. There's going to be that much more breaking points happening with the people there that are resisting it. And there's going to be a lot more instigation on both sides, I think, if this continues this trend, which unfortunately is probably exactly what they want and what they're counting on. So that way they have an excuse to be able to then say, well, we got to arrest and imprison these people and do away with them because they're a threat to society. They're a threat to safety. They're a threat to us and all this other shit, which really is just translation. It's a threat to our complete consolidation of power and control and our projection of it. So because they resist, well, and they want to actually literally physically fight back even, we're going to have to come up with reasons why we got to do it. Well, you give them a reason by fighting back physically. You're giving them what they want. But I know this is going to keep getting worse if this keeps continuing down the road that it's going down. And unfortunately, I have the strongest, deepest seated, pretty confident intuition feeling that it is going to continue this way. And it's going to get so much worse. And you're eventually going to inevitably end up seeing it, maybe even in your own backyard, but you're definitely going to be seeing more from other places in the world that are doing the same thing, that are probably further along than where Australia down there is now. That's a scary thing. But it's not just Melbourne, it's not just Victoria, it's not just Australia. I guarantee you, if they're doing this down there, they're doing it in other places around the world too. And in probably pretty fairly sized cities like that. So it's something to keep your eye out for. And understand that if they're doing it one place, it's a guarantee they're doing it other places. It's like if you see one ant, there's at least another 100 somewhere else nearby that you're going to see eventually. Because that's just how this whole thing works, unfortunately. So I really wanted to talk about this and show you that, because it's a very important stuff for the world to see, so that people understand this is what's really going on, and they're able to get more perspectives on the fact that even the COVID mandates are literally strictly all around the world. It's really just for consolidation of power and control. It's to get you to be willing to give up your rights to them for the greater good so they can get more control and more dictation and power over you. So then they can assume their dictatorship, their autocracy, their dictatorship, their totalitarian state, their eugenics programs, all this other stupid shit, so that way they can get their merit-based dictatorship society to control everything and be their little perfect little utopia paradise that they've always wanted. So this is why I wanted to talk about that, because again, it's very important stuff. I've been doing this for an hour and 30 minutes. I don't know how long this is going to be after editing, but very important topics I want to talk about. And more people around the world needs these perspectives and needs to know these things. With that said, this is the political commentary officially for September 2021. The commentary of the month. I have been me, you have been you. And I hope you learned something today. Getting some value out of this. Yeah, because again, that's kind of the point, is to be able to, again, to enable people to gain new perspectives, or maybe even be able to help you guys actually better place yourself in the shoes of somebody who, you know, has a different belief, a stance different than you, that you may never have been able to quite understand or put yourself in the shoes of, and so you're just like, nah, this doesn't make sense. Hopefully this helps you put yourself in that shoes, so at least, even if it still doesn't make sense to you, you don't agree with it, it at least enables you to now understand how they got there and why they see the way they see it, why they have the beliefs or the perspectives that they do. Again, that's obviously intensely valuable, now more than ever. And that's why, one of the reasons why I actually like to do these. I have more reasons why I don't like doing these, admittedly. But there are reasons why I do and think it's important to do these and why I do like doing them. And that's, again, the main one is to give that perspective and help people gain that value out of it like that. With that said, I hope that happened for you. And, as usual, make sure you leave your angry, spiteful, hate comments down below. Share this on Reddit and 4chan about why I need to be banned from society and why I am the worst kind of person in the world. You know, make sure you drag me, leave your hate, and tear me to pieces in the comments below and on those websites. And of course, definitely on Twitter. You need to counsel somebody who has no life anyway. And I see you. I gotta do your internet duties. Gotta get that clout and that credit. And I'll see you probably never later. Bye-bye. Stay safe out there. Have fun. Live your life how you want to. That's right. Say a lot of day.